Hello, and welcome to the Movies Past and Present podcast. It's October 17th, 2019, and this is episode 35. I'm your host, Stanford Clark, and I'm podcasting from the crossroads of the West in beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. Just like my blog, moviespastandpresent.com, I'll be providing recommendations, commentary, and reviews about current and classic cinema. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started. New in theaters this week, we've got two sequels. First up is Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, which is an action fantasy from the Walt Disney Studios. This movie is a sequel of Maleficent, which came out about 5 years ago, which starred Angelina Jolie as the iconic Disney villain, Maleficent, and then Elle Fanning as the little Princess Aurora, aka Sleeping Beauty. So I was able to see Maleficent, Mistress of Evil at an early screening, and I'll be reviewing it in this podcast. So more to come on Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. It's rated PG for intense sequences of fantasy action violence and brief scary images. Next sequel is Zombieland Double Tap, which is a horror comedy from Columbia Pictures. This actually, the original Zombieland came out in 2009. So it's been a decade, and it became a hit film and a cult classic. The original lead cast is all back for this film, so it's Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Abigail Breslin, and Emma Stone, and they're reunited with the director of the original film, Ruben Fleischer. So this film is a dark comedy. It looks like, again, like the original, as the press materials say, it's through comic mayhem that stretches from the White House and through the Heartland. These four slayers must face off against the many new kinds of zombies that have evolved since the first movie, as well as some new human survivors. But most of all, they have to face the growing pains of their own snarky makeshift family. So, Zombieland Double Tap is rated R for bloody violence, language throughout, some drug use, and sexual content. So, two new sequels in theaters this week: Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and Zombieland Double Tap. Okay, so as I mentioned, in reviews this week, I'm going to be talking about Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. It is really one of the weirdest films I've seen this year. Let me explain. So, the original film came out 5 years ago. I went in with a big chip on my shoulder. You know that I'm not a fan of these quote-unquote remakes or even these revisionist remakes of beloved animated properties. That Disney is just, that's pretty much, I think, the majority of the content that we're going to be getting from them from here till forever. And their quote-unquote remake so the remake of Sleeping Beauty that they named Maleficent was really, truly a completely different retelling of this story. And it turns out what they did is really turned Maleficent, who's played by Angelina Jolie in both the original and the sequel, into a misunderstood heroine. So she's really the one who saves the day. She's the one who actually raises Princess Aurora and saves the kingdom, and saves herself from the evil king, Aurora's dad, and all this stuff. And whatever. I think the thing that the most ticked me off was the horrible marketing campaign they had for that original film 5 years ago, which was something to the effect of learn the real story of what happened to Sleeping Beauty, or learn the real story of what happened to Maleficent. I was like, are you kidding me? She's the mistress of all evil. She's not some misunderstood, character that we need to have pity on, which is the way they portrayed her. But whatever. I think clearly it was enough of a hit that they decided to go ahead and make a sequel. So here's the sequel, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, and both Angelina Jolie and Elle Fanning are back in their respective roles of Maleficent and and Princess Aurora. So Princess Aurora is now the main ruler of the Moors, which is that kind of fanciful land where the first film also took place, where we've got like all sorts of fantasy creatures and fairies and walking trees and all these things that I'm sure have names. But in this film, though, which really is just kind of like a Disney version of Game of Thrones. In fact, that's what I'm picturing and what went on in some of these decision-making meetings. They're just like, well, what if we had like a Disney version of Game of Thrones? And so they turned to this Maleficent creative team to make that happen. So we've got the Moors that Princess Aurora is over. Maleficent. Someone's been spreading a lot of bad information about Maleficent. Plus, she's just scary anyway, right? So she has kind of banished herself, and she's hiding up in the cliff where she can overlook Princess Aurora, and she uses that crow guy that he can turn into a crow and go spy on or excuse me, not a crow, a raven. Sorry, he turns into that raven, and then he can spy on Aurora or watch over her, and then he can go back and report to Maleficent what's happening. She'll turn him back into a human anyway. But Maleficent's watching from afar. Turns out that Princess Aurora and Prince Philip, they get engaged. Prince Philip is the rules from an adjoining kingdom. I guess you could say it's his parents, and he's the prince. But his mom and dad are king and queen, and his mom is played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays a character named Queen Ingrid. So really the question of the film is, who is the mistress of evil? Is it Maleficent, or is it Queen Ingrid? At least that's how I'm viewing that title, because the title itself I think is also kind of weird. But anyway, this whole Game of Thrones thing goes on. We're introduced to another character who's played by the actor Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he plays a dark fae. Maleficent is a dark fae. So it's a dude who's got the big horns and the big wings, and turns out there's a whole group of these dark faes that are in hiding because the humans have tried to kill them, and so they're in these gigantic caves underground so they can peacefully live their lives, but still they ultimately hope that they can peacefully coexist with the humans, up in the regular part of the world. So the film goes. It actually has kind of a promising start, because it's almost so weird. It's like, what is this movie? This isn't just some kind of rehash of the first one, and it's not going in that weird route of, let's tell you what really happened to Sleeping Beauty. So of course there's Prince Philip and Princess Aurora, like in the animated classic from Disney, but that's really the only similarities. It just goes off into a very different kind of direction. So the film, sadly, it looks great, but the plot just gets weirder and weirder as the movie continues, and then kind of in a way dumber and dumber, which is too bad, because again, a promising start, and the production design is stunning. That first Maleficent, I just remember thinking it was just all kind of CGI throw out that because all the fairy characters and everything, they were all computer generated, and I just remember looking so unappealing. And this one, I think they've really stepped up their game, and of course technology continues to improve, but this kingdom that they created looked beautiful, and it's just like a place that you wanted to spend time in. And again, you knew it was computer generated, but it still just looked very appealing and interesting and wonderful. So that part was cool, and the castle that Queen Ingrid lives in is just a knockout. I just think the design that they did of it was amazing. And of course, I just love Michelle Pfeiffer. I have this thing I call the Michelle Pfeiffer adjusted scale, where even if the movie isn't very good, if she's in it, it'll get a bit of a bump, because I love her, and that was part of it for this one. But honestly, it was more of the production design that I think gave this film its little bump up. But sadly, the film really goes into a weird place, and it just never really recovers. One of my big complaints, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, is that I wish that Angelina Jolie had more to say and more to do in this film, or that Maleficent did. I mean, hello, the movie's named after her. I swear, 90% of this movie, all she does is just kind of look, either kind of a combination of mad or misunderstood. And she's not saying anything. So we really don't know like where she's coming from, what her motivations are, what she's feeling, what she's doing, what she wants to do. And that's really frustrating, because I think that would have helped, and maybe again we can make some kind of assumptions about that. And of course they're telling the story through her actions, not necessarily her words, but it really could have used a little more exposition, I think, and some explaining, so we could understand a bit about her motivations and whatnot. And then Michelle Pfeiffer plays a pretty delicious villain, but still, it gets a bit kind of simplistic and rote, and just not that interesting ultimately overall. So, they're those horribly annoying 3 good fairies from the first one. They're back in this one. Thankfully, they're not on screen a lot. I thought those characters were horrible, and I know that they were meant to come off that way, to be annoying, because it's Maleficent who really raises Princess Aurora in this retelling of the story. But horrible. So I'd give Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, a 2.5-star review out of 5 stars, and I think they tried hard. Again, beautiful production design and some interesting ideas that just can't get across the finish line in a really good way. So there you have that. So I'll be interested to hear what you think of Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Have to drop me a line and let me know. Let me know what you think if you go see it. Classic Cinema Corner, I just want to give you a quick update of my TCM Essentials project. I've been watching a series of 52 movies that are recommended in a book called TCM Essentials, which is by the film historian Jeremy Arnold. And I have just absolutely loved this film watching project. I've been having so much fun. Many of these films I've already seen. But the book is excellent. It gives a short essay about each one of these films and some different tips on what to look out for, what makes this interesting. Quotes from various TCM luminaries, particularly Robert Osborne, the late great Turner Classic Movie host, and I've just had a great experience. The last 3 movies that I've watched were Roman Holiday from 1953. 7 Samurai from 1954, and On the Waterfront from 1954. And I tell you, I mean, these 3 movies, 2 of which I've seen before. This was actually the first time I had actually sat through all of 7 Samurai. I've seen portions of it, but I've never seen the whole thing all in one sitting. So I just thought I'd just go over these 3, and then again, just highly recommend these 3 movies to you. If either if you haven't seen them, or if there were again old favorites that would be wonderful to revisit. So first up is Roman Holiday. I just never can get enough of this film. In fact, when it was over, I instantly just wanted to watch it again. I just think it's it's Audrey Hepburn's first film. directed by the great William Wyler. Honestly, the Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn are just the most charming couple. You're familiar with the premise that Audrey Hepburn plays a princess who, speaking of princesses, right, but who is really fed up with her, and a modern day princess. So, and who basically just has to go tour around and meet dignitaries and be formal all the time, and she's really in a gilded cage, and she's fed up with it. And so finally one night in Rome, she runs away, and she meets up with Gregory Peck, and Gregory Peck is an American living in Rome. He's a newspaper reporter, and who's a bit down on his luck, but he meets up with the princess, and then it turns out this could be quite the scoop, because what they decided to do on the princess's family's end is just to say that she's ill, so she's not able to meet her social engagements because she's currently ill while they're traveling in Rome, and but what really she's out learning how to experience life, and she and Gregory Peck fall in love, and it was filmed in Rome, so the location shooting is great, the romance is great, makes me cry every time. I mean, it's a bit bittersweet. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it, but wow, what a wonderful movie. Next up, Seven Samurai from 1954. So this film it's a Japanese film, and it was really a knockout. I was so impressed by it. I know it's highly influential. I think one of the things that really kind of turned me, not so much turned me off, but was a bit of a barrier to entry, was it's 3+ hours long, and it's in black and white, which is not a problem. But again, from the time period, but it is really an epic. So it's this epic samurai drama. It's directed by Akira Kurosawa, the esteemed Japanese film director, and it takes place kind of in the late 1500s, during the time of Japanese history, where there would be these horrible bandits that would come to small farming communities and basically, rape and pillage the women and take all the crops and burn the village down. So I mean, just these horrible, and the villagers are all scared to death about it. So they've been threatened by another band of these bandits, and they decide that they are actually going to hire some samurais to protect them from this next round, and to try to beat these bandits. And so it's a very methodical film, because it goes through you learn about the village. You see all the hiring, all the interviewing, all the hiring of the samurai, how this dynamic all works, how the dynamic of the samurai, how they are together, and then ultimately, kind of in the second half, is when we really see how this battle goes down with them. I think a lot of people rank it as one of the greatest films ever made, and I think I would concur. I was so moved and so impressed by this film. And again, and I'm just reading it. It was in Japanese with English subtitles, and I just never tired. I just never tired of it, and it's so compelling. Kurosawa was such a good director, such excellent use of the camera, such excellent use of black and white, and also I understand at the time it was one of the most expensive films ever made in Japan. I think they were building all these village sets and whatnot, and it all looked like it was filmed out in the countryside. So some kind of in a rural setting, but really a brilliant, wonderful film. So if you haven't seen it, highly recommend The Seven Samurai, or if you have seen it, might be worth blocking out some time and checking it out again. All right, last one of this trio is On the Waterfront from 1954, and this film, directed by the great Elia Kazan, stars Marlon Brando, of course, in a very iconic role for him, and this just takes place on a rough waterfront on the East Coast. Looks like it's in New York, someplace like that. And the union is being run corruptly. Lee J. Cobb plays the baddie, who's the corrupt union boss, and Marlon Brando plays one of these guys who unloads these ships. Who's just looking for work, just trying to do his work. His brother, who's played by Rod Steiger, Marlon Brando's brother, is also involved with Lee J. Cobb, and is kind of running the show in a bad way. So if you even think you're gonna tattle on these on these corrupt union bosses, or talk to the press or anybody, these guys will kill you. So the movie starts where one of these guys gets killed, and it turns out it's the brother of the actress. Well, it's Eva Marie Saint plays a character who's it's her brother who gets killed, and she's pretty fearless, and she wants to find out who killed her brother and what's going on. She's suspicious of all this union activity. Also in the film is Carl Malden, who plays a priest, and who is pretty fearless, and same thing. They want to figure out or get to the bottom of what's going on with this. Then Marlon Brando falls in love with Eva Marie Saint, and so there's all that going on. But this movie is really poignant. Marlon Brando gives an absolutely stunning performance, but it goes, his character arc is really something, because it goes from being kind of a bit of a thug, or a real thug, kind of supporting or enabling the bad dudes, to seeing a bigger picture, both for his community, but almost like in this case, more importantly, for himself, knowing that he doesn't have to let these criminals run his life, and he's got, of course, has to be brave and stand up for himself, but he does so in a pretty magnificent and memorable way. So, On the Waterfront is a brilliant movie. Also of note is Leonard Bernstein, the great composer of West Side Story, among other things. He wrote the score for this film, and in fact, I think it might be the only film, or one of the few films, that he actually wrote an original score for. And you can definitely tell it's Bernstein music, and it sure adds a lot. It's wonderful. So again, this TCM Essentials project has been so much fun. I've got just a month and a half left, and I'm pretty close. I'm going to make it. Just given my schedule and whatnot, I haven't been always to be really being as consistent, be able to watch a movie a week. But I'm close. I'll probably have to double up in a couple weeks. Coming up, I'm going to have an Alfred Hitchcock week, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to watch Rear Window, which is one of these films that's from 1954, and then North by Northwest from 1959. So really excited about that. To round out the 1950s, there's also The Searchers from 1956, and Some Like It Hot. Again, movies I've already seen, but which I really love. We'll be taking a little dip into French New Wave with Breathless, which was made in 1960. Then I've got Dr. Strangelove from 1964, which I love. And anyway, some other really good stuff, which I think is going to be a lot of fun, and it'll be a fun way to end this project. I'll put a link both to my original post about this on my blog, and then a link to this book that you could buy on Amazon if you were so inclined. It's really been terrific, and I just had a blast with these TCM Essentials films. Well, that does it for this episode of the Movies Past and Present podcast. Links and more information about all of the movies discussed in today's podcast can be found in the podcast notes on my blog at moviespastandpresent.com. As always, I hope you will enjoy some good movies this week, whether they be from the past or the present. Until next time, thanks for listening, and see you at the movies.